What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video, and as you will be able to tell from looking on screen right now, we've got a FIFA 17 demo gameplay for you guys, and it's, completely different to my channel. This is entirely new. I've recently got an Elgato, and, I wanted to make some FIFA videos, and I will be doing so over the course of the next year. But I wanted to give you my opinion on the FIFA 17 demo. So in the background, you're just seeing a bit of sped up footage, like speeded up footage. Just getting into the game. As you can see, it is Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid, and I feel like now, yeah, there we go. So I've slowed it down right now just so you can see the graphics and so on. I do have 10 points to make on FIFA 17, my own thoughts that I'd like to share with you guys, from playing the demo quite a bit recently. Before I do actually give you the points though, be sure to drop a like on the video, comment down below, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is much appreciated. But as the match kicks off, I'm going to get into my 10 points, starting off with point number 1. And that's the new set piece system. So if you've not played FIFA, they have completely revamped these set pieces from free kicks, corners, and penalties. So it's literally completely new entirely. I feel like I'm torn, 50-50 as to whether I like it or whether I don't. There's times where it's really worked out quite nicely, and then there's other times where it's not worked out so well. I do feel like it's it's a big change in the game. Any game that makes a huge change, it's going to take a time to bed in, it's going to take time to get used to, and that's just natural with any game, to be fair. And I feel like this is completely, it's no different. I do feel like the set piece system, if you look at it, just from like an outside point of view, it is much better than the old one. The old one was very simplistic, which, yeah, I agree, some people will like that. But I do feel like the new one is more complex, which makes the game more complex as a whole. And, it adds an extra skill level to, playing FIFA. Obviously, you've got to now, like, aim your corners quite precisely. You've got to aim your free kicks quite precisely, and you've got to, like, you'll see in a moment, I do actually get a corner, and it shows you through the screens. It's actually a lot more detailed than before. But I feel like the biggest change of set pieces, which is actually my second point, is the penalties. So they've completely revamped penalties as well. And one of these things, at first I was like, wow, what is this? I really don't like this. I wish they stuck to the old, just aim and shoot system that they've had for so many years. That's worked so well, to be fair. But they've made this new system where you actually make the player, you position the player's run up. You can take as a long run up as you want. You can position them from left to right, or, right down the centre, wherever you want him to play. Start his run up from the penalty. And then you've actually got to make him take his run up whilst aiming the shot, and then, having the power at the end of the run up. So it adds, as I said, a lot more complexity to, the penalty taking system. But I feel like it's actually a great system. I watched, a few videos on YouTube just to see, how other people were actually approaching the penalties, and I picked up a few things. And once you actually get to learn, what a save that was, by the way, in the background, once you actually get to know, how the system works, how the penalties are actually well taken, you actually get a quite good feel for it. Every penalty I took at first was just going along the floor and not really in the corners, but then once I, studied it a bit more, I can actually now bury them in the top hand corners, which is, it's a huge advantage to have. You've really got to learn how to take penalties. But as I was saying, it's a strange system where you start the run up and you've actually got to run up, then you've got to actually direct the player's run up to the ball whilst aiming the shot. And in previous years, if you, move the left analog stick and pointed it to the top left and hit, shoot, you kick it towards the top left of the goal. But that's completely different. You can aim to the bottom left-hand side of the goal and put a lot of power, and it will go to the top-hand corner, which is good to see. And as you can see on screen right now, this is what I mean about the new corner and, free kick system. I'll just go through the menus quite slowly for you. If you need to read any of it, you can. But whilst I'm talking about that, I'm going to move on to point number 3, which I feel like passing is, key in this year's FIFA. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying it by now, but I do really feel it is. I feel like this is going to be a game that's just pass-orientated. I've also got down here pace-orientated as well, so I feel like pace is going to be quite important, which doesn't really go well, because if you've got to be playing a lot of short passes, then you're not really going to get to utilise the pace as much. But I do feel like passing, very short passing with the A button on Xbox and the X button on PlayStation, that's going to be like the most efficient way of moving the ball around. Whereas in previous years, sometimes you just play like a long through ball over the top, or even just a regular through ball along the floor, and that's, the overpowered thing. But I do feel like pace and short passing is going to be overpowered in this year's FIFA. We'll move on to point number 4, and I feel like through balls are actually really, they're quite poor in this FIFA. I don't really want to like use a I want to be fair how I explain it, but I do feel like they are quite poor. Basically, through balls for me, I don't actually think any of them have worked. I haven't said that you will see one work later on this game, but they very rarely work this year. Every time you play a through ball, it just tends to like be quite inaccurate, or it's, you know, over hit. Like, here's a through ball, see. In previous FIFAs, that would go round that man, and our player would run straight onto it, but it just doesn't seem to happen that very often this year. Maybe that's something EA need to look to. Maybe they've nerfed it too much, so the through balls aren't actually as powerful. Maybe they want that in the game, but I do feel like there should be a good balance. And I feel like maybe at this moment in time, it's probably more towards the short passing than it is towards the through ball. We'll move on to the next point anyway. And that's short passing. I've already kind of mentioned that with the pace, but as I said, short passing is much better than through balls, and as I've just mentioned, this is going to be a very short point, but you know, they kind of need to get the right balance, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you feel like that is also a thing that EA need to address. We'll move on to the next point swiftly anyway, and the finesse shot is one that I need to talk about. In previous FIFAs, I think most notably the last few, finesse shots have been really overpowered, which, you know, it's nice to see. You know, if you're on the edge of the box, got a player on his right foot, he's on the like left hand side of the box, he just curls one into the far hand corner. It's a really nice goal to score, and it happens quite a lot in real life, to be fair. You know, it's a very realistic thing. Whereas this year, I've played a lot of games on the demo already. I don't think I've actually scored a finesse shot, and if I have, it's been very, very close range. That's one that you're not really going to miss anyway. Finesse shots just seem really weak, really, you know, underpowered. Every finesse shot I have just tends to not even really be a finesse shot. It just goes straight into the keeper's hands, no matter how far you direct it away from the goal. You know, for it to curl back in, it always seems to just go straight to the keeper, or it's, you know, just rolling along the floor, or it's, you know, it just goes wide, like miles I can't even speak, miles wide of the mark. Got it there in the end. So I do feel once again that could be something that EA address, and they do actually get a good balance in you know, how it actually plays out. And here, that's what I mean. That through ball works for me, and Lewandowski does actually manage to get through, and, you know, he does go on to score. And as you've seen, maybe previous FIFAs have probably maybe tried to finesse that near post just around the keeper, or even take a touch on my left and finesse it around him, but I had to go for a powerful shot across the keeper, because that's how I feel like, you know, goals are going to be scored in this year's FIFA. We'll move on to the next point anyway, and it kind of links in with what I was just saying. Power shots, them type of shots. I know they're not really power shots, but just pressing the B button solely. And, you know, P-rollers as well, I think they're called, where you just literally, like, roll the ball along the floor with just a simple tap of the B button. I feel like they're going to be the really overpowered shots in this year's FIFA. They're the ones I notice a lot of people scoring the most goals with, and they're the ones that I've, you know, personally scored the most goals with. A lot of shots from outside the box as well, which is nice to see, because, you know, you want a FIFA that you can score close range, but you can also score some nice 30-yard worldies. And if a FIFA doesn't really have that, then it's unrealistic, because it does happen in real life. And yes, it doesn't happen every single week, so I do feel like FIFA have done the right thing and, you know, making it a bit more difficult to actually score them type of goals. But at least adding that realism of these are the shots that people score more often in real life. So that's a good thing to see. Move on to the next point, which is point number 8, and goalkeepers actually seem to be pretty decent in this game. I mentioned before what a fantastic save it was from our goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer, and I know he's the best goalkeeper in the game and so on, but I do feel like goalkeepers are actually pretty decent this time round. Yes, there's some moments where they are questionable, whether they're like, why haven't they gone for that, or why have they just let the ball go straight past them. But then there's other times where they're pulling off absolutely magnificent saves, and yes, again, sometimes they're right at them no matter how much power you put behind it, and they're not the saves I'm on about. It's the ones that are curling into the far hand corner, the ones that are going straight into top bins, but the keeper still manages to pull out a great save somehow in this year's FIFA. It's good to see, but I don't want it to get to a point where it's really difficult to score, which is something I've not found, you know, entirely. I do feel like I can score goals, but at first, most definitely, I was really struggling to score goals, and it wasn't that I wasn't creating chances, it was more so that the keeper was saving every single shot I had. So maybe if it continues where keepers are overpowering attackers, maybe one more, you know, another thing that EA could potentially look at. I feel like I'm moaning, but I do actually really like this game so far. Don't, you know, take it as though I've got a lot of criticism. I'm just, you know, giving general feedback. It will move on to point number 9. And I feel like defenders are actually drawn out of the positions a bit too often, you know, the computer defenders. If you take a look at, like, gameplay quite in detail, I know it's not always something that you do. You know, you're not doing, like, a tactical scouting report or anything like that. But you'll just see, even there, one of the centre-backs, the right-hand centre-back, he's well out of position there, leaving Lewandowski to have a header, and he was very unlucky to not to score, but there was no need for him to be drawn over there. There was already the left-back on the man, and there was already the left-hand side centre-back, covering him, so why did the right-hand centre-back have to go straight over with them? So they've got 3 players marking 1 man, leaving the most dangerous in the centre, and again, you can see these defenders literally getting drawn out. There's a part there where there's literally 1 man back and everyone's kind of pressing the whole defence. That's what I'm on about. The defenders just seem to be getting drawn into maybe a few more altercations with, the attacking players that they don't really need to be involved in, and that, could potentially cause some problems. But again, this isn't the full game, and I do feel like this game is absolutely great. I've got to say, I do really feel like this could be a good year for FIFA. So these things that I mentioned are only minus things that I'm, bringing up, but I do feel like they should be mentioned. We'll move on to the final point, and it's just an overall thing. So as I've been saying, I do feel like the game seems really good. The gameplay may be a little slow, which for me, FIFA 16 was slow. FIFA 15, I'm not too sure, I can't really remember, but FIFA 16 was definitely a little slow in my opinion. But obviously, sometimes slow games actually suit players, and then you go into Ultimate Team and it's a completely different game anyway. It's much faster in Ultimate Team, so maybe that does, it changes from game mode to game mode. And the final thing I just want to say is I am really looking forward to playing FIFA 17. It seems like it's going to be a great game. But that is all for this video. If you have enjoyed, be sure to drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is all. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, goodbye.